and whose glory should be seen in prancing hoof and gleaming teeth, gave way like common beasts of burden.
Ao final da longa e sofrida marcha, apenas uma morte foi registrada entre a elite do grupo. Godelda, esposa de Balduíno, dos líderes da cruzada.
Gotthilda was a very, very wealthy woman. She would have held estates and had finances that Baldwin, as her husband, would have had a route into. If she died, these would go back to her family. He wouldn't have access to her. They would stay with her bloodline. Her death means that his chances of becoming rich when he went back home had gone. His mindset would change. He was now potentially on the lookout for lands, for territory, for wealth of his own. Within a day or so of her death, his policy became one of acquisition and greed.
Nenhum historiador faz menção ao luto de Balduíno, mas contam que ele reuniu uma centena de cavaleiros e partiu em missão solo. O conde decidiu que a melhor maneira de compensar a perda da esposa e sua fortuna era tomando uma cidade para si. O alvo perfeito encontrava-se a 160 quilômetros dali, o condado de Edessa.
Edessa is a wealthy city. It generates its own income through metalwork. It's a very fertile region. It's very close to the Euphrates River. It's also on the trade routes. So you've got spices and luxury cloths coming across from the east, passing through it, and then going to the Mediterranean for further trade. It's a really, really good spot for Baldwin to base himself.
A questão é que a cidade não estava nas mãos dos muçulmanos e havia bravamente resistido aos ataques turcos até então. Mas o povo cristão de Edessa estava cansado de constante investida muçulmana. E quando soube que um líder cruzado se aproximava, a cidade pediu ao governador Toros que convidasse Balduíno para ser seu aliado.
The governor of the city was a Christian Armenian called Thoros. He was a feeble old man, without child of either sex. He was a useless overlord. He was unable to protect his citizens from wrongs or to procure them relief from the dangers of attack from these cursed infidels.
A aliança com Balduíno tinha seu preço. Ele aceitaria proteger Edessa dos turcos em troca do total controle da cidade. O ingênuo Toros prometeu torná-lo rei somente depois de sua morte. O frágil governante selou seu destino ao adotar Balduíno como filho. Mas para o conde, a morte de Toros não tardaria a chegar.
Baldwin discovered evil counselors in Edessa. Traitors who plotted with him to have Thoros murdered and who promised to hand Edessa over to him.
Toros descobriu a traição do conselho tarde demais. Sua cabeça já estava a prêmio.
He took a rope and let it down from the tower. But immediately his destroyers shot him down into the middle of the street. And cutting off his head, they carried it on a spear through the quarters of the city for everyone to mock.
It's not a good start for crusading ideology, it has to be said. This is not a great moment in the idea that Christianity is going to come to save Eastern Christendom from the threat of Islam. The reality is that Baldwin has come with an eye to gaining territory, and I think he's prepared to remove physically and politically a figure who's Christian from power to get his own territory.
if there had been no Islam in that world, but you had had Eastern Christianity, which you had, after all, before the rise of Islam, exactly the same thing would have happened, but they would have had to find a different ideological coloring for it. They probably would have said, these are not proper Christians, we're the true Christians, like religious fundamentalists of all hues say. So, from that point of view, many Christians in that region also regarded the Crusaders as essentially Christian fundamentalist barbarians from the uncivilized lands of the north.
Enquanto Balduíno comemorava a tomada de Edessa, o exército cruzado principal chegava aos muros da grande cidade de Antioquia, a 240 quilômetros dali. A próspera Antioquia foi uma cidade cristã desde os tempos do apóstolo Pedro até 1085, quando os turcos tomaram o controle. Seria um prêmio superado apenas por Jerusalém, uma conquista digna de sacrifício. Os restos de Antioquia em nada lembram seu esplendor em outrora. Suas ruínas despertam pouco interesse nas colinas da Turquia. Mas para um jovem cavaleiro completando um ano de cruzada, a primeira visão da cidade em 1097 foi uma experiência única.
The city is surrounded by two walls, one of which is very high and amazingly broad. It's built with huge stones, and there are set up on it 450 towers. It's shut in by 4 mountains, and alongside the city walls runs a deep river. And everything about the city is beautiful.
I think the Crusaders want to take the city for a whole range of reasons. First and probably foremost is strategic. Antioch is literally the gateway to Syria and the gateway to the Holy Land. If they leave the city behind them, their route for escape and certainly their route for resupply and reinforcement is going to be cut off. Spiritually, it's almost the equal of Jerusalem in many ways as a goal, because Antioch was, in Christian tradition, the site of the founding of the very, very first Christian church by St. Peter, the Apostle of Christ. So this gave it a real spiritual power and a spiritual cachet that I think the Crusaders were very empowered by.
A maioria da população de Antioquia era formada por armênios e cristãos grego-ortodoxos. Os governantes turcos lhes davam plena liberdade para cultuar sua fé, mas nada disso importava para os cruzados. Eles queriam retirar os turcos do poder e devolver a cidade ao controle cristão. Tomá-la de volta, porém, não seria fácil.
Antioch is a very well-defended city indeed. The walls surrounding the city, here high on the mountain, going down to the plain, are very massive. You can see that, the construction here. A strong, stout, thick inner core, faced with this fine exterior. Reinforced, of course, with a system of towers. The towers interlock with one another. This is the kind of wall you don't shift with a battering ram.
Os historiadores cristãos não foram os únicos a relatar a sangrenta disputa por Antioquia. Ibn al-Athir percorreu os 4 cantos colhendo histórias sobre os grandes heróis muçulmanos que resistiram aos cruzados, os então chamados francos. Sua célebre coletânea fala do corajoso líder de Antioquia, Yaghi Sian.
Yaghi Sian, the ruler of Antioch, showed unparalleled wisdom and courage, strength and judgment. If all the Franks who died attacking his city had survived, they would have overrun all the